today's video, we're going to look at modeling a filing cabinet in Blender. But before we get started, as usual, let's look at this quick ad and we'll come right back and start the modeling. See you then. Now that we're back, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to do is get in here and delete my logo. In your case, it might be the default cube. And then I want to come up here and turn the screencast keys on so you guys can follow along with this tutorial. Once that is done, I'm going to now begin modeling the cabinet by starting and bringing in a cube primitive. And then what I want to do is I want to open up my items under the in panel, and under the dimensions, I'm going to explicitly put in some measurements, and in my case, in inches. Feel free to follow along, pause the video, and put in the same dimensions if you'd like to, and you can make the same size as I am. If not, then just get something kind of close. Alright, so this is the basic dimensions of the cabinet, and then I want to go ahead and make sure to reset the scale. So when you look at it under scale in the in panel, you see everything is set to 1. That will make sure that we don't have any weird stuff going on. I'm also going to come in here and make a plane. I want to rotate it on X by 90 degrees, and I want to scale it down as well. Essentially what this is going to be is it's going to be one of the front doors for one of the cabinets that goes into the filing cabinet here. And yet again, you can just kind of follow along with what I'm doing. Now, right now it's just a flat plane, but what I want to come in here and do is I want to give it a little bit of thickness. So I'm going to extrude it just a hair. And I'm not getting super detailed about it because for this particular model, you're not going to see those doors open. Also made sure to, because of the way I extruded it, I also made sure to recalculate the normals so we don't have weird normals. Going in here now, making some loop cuts, because I'm going to use these loop cuts to kind of help build like the little pull-out piece for the front of the drawer where you stick your hand in there and pull a drawer out. And it's just going to be decorative, not functional. Just using bevels and scale. I'm going to inset this in. I'm going to extrude this inward just a little bit, just to give it the perception of depth where you can stick your finger in there or your fingers in there and grab that thing. And I'm going to run like a nice little bevel on it. What I want to do is I want to come in here, grab these faces. I'm going to extrude them out on Y, back towards the view, just to make it pop a little bit right here visually. And then I want to come in here, grab these edges, and I'm going to put a tight little bevel on these guys. Since this is such a planar model, I'm not likely to run sub D on this one. There's kind of no need of doing so, but I still like to practice bevels where we should be putting bevels. Just a good practice for you all, so that's why I do it in my videos. Yeah, it's starting to look like a nice door of a filing cabinet there. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create a section up here at the top that looks like a separate piece of metal. And the cheapest and easiest way of doing that is just putting a loop cut up there, selecting that whole edge and then beveling it, and then running extrude along the normals to make it look like it's cut into. And then we can take those edges and put like a tight little bevel on those. and it will give the illusion that this is a separate piece of metal that was put together to make that part of the filing cabinet. This also keeps us from having two separate meshes that we have to glue together into one, that sort of thing. It's a bit of an illusion, but it works. Going to do the same thing down here near the bottom. I'm going to make this one here a little bit further up. Literally, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bevel it out. Then I'm going to extrude along the normals. I'm going to pull it in. Like so. And then once I do that, then I'm going to tighten up those little those edges with bevels. Don't really need to do it because I'm not running sub D. However, it's good habit, as I said before, and it will make sure that you don't have weird stuff happening when you run sub D on this. Just giving it a quick look over real quick. Save my file out. Now the next thing we need to tackle is we need to tackle like the opening here in the front of the cabinet. So I'm gonna go into top ortho, and what I want to do is I want to move that front drawer in front of the filing cabinet to see what kind of measurement I have here, and then it's going to help me figure out how wide I want that opening to be. So let me just center it up a little bit better than when I got it. And I'm just going to place the drawer down here near the bottom because that's where I'm going to place the first drawer. And I'm going to go ahead and create an array because I want 3 drawers on to this one. Give them a little bit of a gap. And then throw in the third one. So bam, just that quick, just using an array modifier, we've got our 3 drawers. And at this point in the game, you guys should know what the array modifier does, and you should know the benefits of using it in your modeling. If you don't, I would suggest you look at some of my older videos where I go into a little bit more detail about that. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm bringing in a cube primitive, mesh primitive. I am scaling it down to match the dimensions of the filing cabinet itself. And now I'm going to apply the scale. And what I'm going to do back in edit mode is I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to start sizing it down just a little bit smaller, because this cube is going to define where our opening is. And we really don't need the opening because, like I said, we're not going to show the filing cabinet with the drawer's functional opening and that sort of thing. But I want to give the illusion when lighting and materials and all that stuff gets on there that there's a hole, there's a gap back there, like you would see on a real one. So that's why we're doing this. And it's low effort, and it's not adding a lot of geometry and a lot of weight to the model. So I say let's do it. It'll just help with the realism. So now I'm bringing in a Boolean modifier. I selected that cube as a target. And then I went back in there and hit it. So if you look in the outliner, you'll see it's grayed out. Well, it's grayed out under view. It's not grayed out under render, but it's grayed out under view. And see, now we've got an opening there. It's all non-destructive, which is nice. So if I want to go back in there and later and change the dimensions of that, I can do it. So what I did now is I grabbed some faces on the back of that cabinet door, and I just pulled it out just to show that there's something there. I'm not trying to detail model this because you're not going to see it. So I'm just putting big chunky faces. I just extrude a bunch of big chunky faces back there because honestly, you're not going to see it. Doesn't matter. And it's not adding a lot of weight, like I said, to the model. So it's going to render quicker and it's going to be lighter. It's going to be a smaller file and lighter weight model to deal with. Just putting in some loop cuts so we have some nice geometry in here. And of course we're going to have some n-gons, but you know, we can deal with that. Not a big problem. And I'm going to move these in place. And if you look, there's a big gap down there at the bottom. So I overshot my landing with my cube. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about it being non-destructive. I'm going to bring the cube back into the view. I'm going to go into edit mode. And I can come back up in here because where the problem is at the bottom. So I grab that bottom face, and on G, I just move up on the Z axis. And now I can use that door or that cabinet door to kind of figure out where that opening needs to stop. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it and looking at it and make sure I got it right. So now I can hide it again. And now when we come back out here and look at this model, you can clearly see that we don't have that gap anymore. This is what I was talking about non-destructive. It's a good way to work until you are committed or ready to commit to your changes, and then that way you can apply that modifier, and now Blender's not calculating it every time, and everything just should be a little bit faster. Also here I'm putting in some more geometry just to make the model a little bit better for the cabinet itself. So just clean up work. And now I'm going to parent the opening, or that cube that made the opening, because I haven't applied it yet. I'm going to parent that to the cabinet itself. And that way I can move everybody up at one time, because I want to get it up on that axis line, because I'm going to bring in a plane to basically create a floor. So now let's go into mesh primitives, bring in a plane. That's going to be our little bit of a floor here. And one thing I want to do here is I want to come in here and put a solidify modifier on it. And I want to apply it because I'm happy with that. We don't need a big giant floor. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a subdivision, and I'm just going to repeat that a number of times, 4 times. And that'll allow us to have, if we put a material on here that requires displacement, we'll have really clean, nice, realistic looking displacement because I've got a lot of geometry there. Just look at everything over. Everything looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go to materials preview. We're going to start popping some paint on this thing. It's going to be super simple, guys. So one thing I want to do is I want to come in here and do the materials panel, and I want to create a new material that's essentially going to be the metal that makes up the majority of the cabinet. I give it a little off yellow, a little bit of red color, light, pretty light color, kind of like a light beige, if you will. And I'm going to crank the metallic feature all the way up to 1 for 100%. I'll give it a little bit more roughness than you might think because it's not a glossy cabinet. And then what I want to do is select the cabinets themselves and bring in that same material. So I want to data link that same material. However, the handles I want to be a different color. So what I need to do now is I need to come in here, select these faces that make up these handles, with all of the little bevel cuts and all that good stuff there. And I'm just using Command plus on a Mac, Control plus on a PC to make sure that I start at one point and then it expands or grows out the selection by continuing to hit that. So once I have that, so I don't lose it, I'm going in my my vertex groups, and I'm creating one, and I'm going to assign it to that selection. So if I have to go back in there and select it again later, it makes it easy. I don't have to go back in there and Control or Command plus it anymore. So now I'm in the materials. I create a new material, which is going to be that selection. I assign it to that selection, and now I just add in the properties that I want for that. So like the color, the metallic properties, roughness, and that sort of thing. So that's how we get the 2 different materials on one object. Now I'm going up in the render view. I'm in cycles, and as you can see, it's pretty dark because I only have one light up there. It's that point light, which is the default light. And now what I want to do is I want to bring in an area light that's going to be like the main light in the scene that's going to showcase the filing cabinet. And guys, for this example, I'm not doing anything fancy with lighting. I'm just going to bring in a light so you can kind of see what this thing looks like in the end. And all I'm going to do is position it. In terms of the video, we're done modeling. We're done with the materials. It's super simple. I'm going back to some simple videos for you guys here recently because I want to really reinforce the whole importance of modeling and that sort of thing and give you some quick wins. So I brought in a camera, brought in a floor, and all that good stuff, and we're done. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe and join for more content. I've got a list of things that I'm working on for the next month or 2 for videos. I am going to start doing some more complicated stuff, but this was a good start, and this was a really quick one for you for the beginning of this week. And before I get done, I want you to see the final product. This is it. We're done. See you guys on the next one. Later.